Okay, so week 6 just passed, and now there are no more undefeated teams, and some teams fell this week in the most humiliating way. So I apologize if this video is going to be a little bit more angry than usual, but I was just pissed off at some of these teams.
So much pain!
Guys, look, it's Taylor Swift. There she is. Anyways, this game was a funeral, but instead of a traditional celebration of life because Denver was already dead and buried before the game began, the Chiefs dug the Broncos out of their grave, robbed the burial site, and then turned the whole graveyard to ash. And you know what the funniest part is? I wrote this at 5:38 p.m. Pacific time. The butchering had only begun, and 20 minutes after the game started, it was clear where it was already going to me. Even when the game was just 10-0 in favor of the Chiefs, it felt like an insurmountable lead for Denver to overcome. Sean Payton still can't get his own schmeat out of his mouth, and can't be bothered to call a good football game. And I'm not an analytics guy, but did you know your chances of winning a football game are relatively low when your quarterback throws for under 100 yards and 2 interceptions? I mean, what a concept. I'm just not having a good time watching this game, guys. Can I stop? Am I allowed to not finish this game? Please, show mercy. The bar for Thursday Night Football is already just comically low, yet they keep finding a way to lower it more and more, and Trevor Lawrence, you need to play next week. There's no other option. You have to be there. If I have to watch Derek Carr play CJ Beathard, I might just have to invest in a new toaster.
I don't think I can live anymore.
If anyone out there is new to football and you've never seen the Ravens play a full football game, just watch this game. That'll get you the perfect idea of what the Baltimore Ravens are as a team. It's hard to put it into words, but I feel like if you watch this game without the scoreboard, you might simultaneously think the Ravens were both winning the game by 20 and losing by 20. They were just so inconsistent, and I mean, after the game, Jim Harbaugh said they shot themselves in the foot too many times, but like, yeah, of course they did. That's what the Ravens do. So the Ravens just played like the Ravens. And meanwhile, with Justin Tucker outscoring the entire Titans team, the old blue and blue were just, you know, I would say they had a tough day, but to be honest, it was really just another day for the Titans. A world exists out there where Ryan Tannehill losing his leg again may not actually be the worst thing in the world for you. I'm not saying Malik Willis or Will Levis will be anything at all, but at least holding some auditions for next year's quarterback position can't hurt, right? But when Malik Willis was actually out there, he looked like a great XFL player and nothing more. I mean, the game ended when the announcers literally said, "Oh God, wouldn't it just be horrible if the Titans took a sack right here? That would be game ending." And then Malik Willis took 4 sacks. He basically got sacked on 4 straight plays and ended the game. Like, come on, dude. You have to be better than that. We didn't really learn anything from this game. The Ravens are a good team, but a tier below the great teams, and the Titans are, they're horrible. But I don't think they're bad enough to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes yet, and as long as there's even an ounce of royal blood still left in the king, I don't know. Anything's possible, I guess. Who would have guessed it? The Dolphins beat the Carolina Panthers. Can you believe that? And I know that after the patch notes for 10.15.23 were released, a lot of the changes were done in order to nerf the top 3 teams in the league, but clearly the devs didn't do enough to stop Miami, and I'm not sure anything is going to slow them down this season, barring an injury or Tyreek having another child dispute. I mean, this game was just textbook bullying. After that initial scare, it was all fins. And after the game, Tua pretty much just went to Bryce Young and was like, "Hey man, it's looking rough. Just hang in there, brother." I'm not surprised, you're not surprised, so Dolphins won. Let's move on.
Here we go again.
So, do you mind just staying with me here for a second? Bear with me, because I must be missing something about this Saints offensive game plan. So you go into this game, right? You go into the game versus Houston knowing damn well, or at least I'd hope knowing damn well, that the Texans' #1 cornerback is still injured, and Shaquille Griffin ain't all that anymore, so the Saints offensive coordinator, Pete Carmichael, must have looked at his wide receiver room full of talent and went, "I got it. I know who we're running this offense through. Taysom. Taysom Hill." Just help me to understand this philosophy. Do you think the pathway to a victory involves getting Taysom Hill 6 catches at halftime and pounding the Kamara checkdowns to death? Look, I've said it for what feels like every Saints game, but This offense just won't ever break 30 points in a competitive game. It just won't happen. Yes, the offensive line needs to get healthy, and that's a huge issue right now, but if they can't passably protect their car with an already injured O-line, then I don't know how they're going to execute these play calls. And you know what? If you were zoning out during that whole rant, fine by me. Just please listen to this one part, because this describes the Saints offense, to me at least, absolutely perfectly. You with me? Okay. On the Saints' last drive, with the game on the line and a chance to send it to overtime, or maybe if they scored a touchdown, get a 2-point conversion and win it, on first down, the Saints threw a bomb to the end zone. Okay, fine, I get it. One shot to at least, have a chance to break the game open. Then on second down, bomb to the end zone. All right, let's chill out a little. So third down, bomb to the end zone. Fourth down, Derek Carr chucks it out of bounds, game over. That's the Saints offense in a nutshell right there. I knew I was going to be absolutely pissed off at one of these teams at the end of this game, and it turns out it's the same team that I've been mad at all year. It's so frustrating to watch the Saints team just waste so much talent. I know you're better than this. Just go out there and prove it for one game, please. This game began, and it seemed like it was going to be all Commanders, because as history has shown, if you can punch the Falcons in the face and count to 3, there's no way in hell they're getting up. But sure enough, they eventually fought back, and Desmond Ridder started picking up where he left off last week, getting Atlanta right back into it. And hey, would you look at that, they got the ball right back again, and now they're in prime opportunity to swing the momentum back into their hand. They blew it. And then blew it again. And again. How many times are you going to throw this game away, Atlanta? I mean, you can't really ask for anything more. Your defense was balling out for a majority of the second half. Sam Howell was doing what he wanted when he wanted early on, but they corrected their mistakes, and when presented with opportunities, you just couldn't close the game out. Not really much else to say. Ritter's got to be better if this team wants to go farther. I mean, just throw it out of the end zone. I've lost faith in you, Falcons. I really have. The only thing that you have going for you this year is that your division is so bad that you might just stumble to a playoff appearance without a winning record. But other than that, if Desmond Ridder doesn't improve, which he won't, this team isn't going to make any noise past the wild card. Well, there goes Anthony Richardson for the season, probably. I guess he had a solid career while it lasted, but without him, the Colts just didn't want to be here today. They continue to just not be able to beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville with that Carson Wentz meltdown still fresh in their minds, and the game was basically over the moment Etienne did Etienne things. But I honestly thought Gardner Minshew would at least be a better traditional pocket passer than Anthony Richardson, but wow, I guess I'll shut the up. And the Jaguars got another dub off of the back of their defense with Josh Allen, Tyson Campbell, Andre Sisco, and the rest of the boys just carrying. And like I said before, Trevor Lawrence, thank God he avoided a major injury, but he better be healthy for Thursday. Because if he isn't, things will change. Well, this was not the game I expected to be the low-scoring one, but hey, here we are. And also, I don't know how I let this slip by, but welcome, Chicago, to the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. I'll admit, it's getting a little crowded, but there's still plenty of room. And yeah, this game was just a reality check for anyone out there believing the Bears weren't just the Bears. Justin Fields was really bad, and then when he got injured, things got much worse for the Bears when the game pretty much ended once Tyson Bagent got rocked on this play that led to the fumble recovery for a touchdown. But of course, remember, this is the Minnesota Vikings, and no win can be easy, so even when they got the game-sealing pick, they had to just cough up a little fumble just to throw in some of their dark humor. This was a tank bowl, nothing more, and I know the Vikings are refusing to trade Kirk by the end of the season, which is, that's fine, I guess, but they're still losing a ton of games, and the Bears are also losing, but at least they're proud of it, so if you're going to stick to that philosophy, Minnesota, just make sure this guy is happy. Make sure he's not gone or holding out by the beginning of next season, because he's all you have. Just by looking at this box score, you'd think Seattle won this game by 20. I mean, they dominated Cincinnati in every category, but this was just one of those weird games where the Seahawks defense was undisciplined early and playing a nearly flawless second half on that side of the ball just wasn't enough. And even with that being said, all the credit in the world goes to Seattle's defense for their adjustments, because I thought Joe Burrow was finally just back and ready to burn everything to the ground, but The Seahawks put a stop to that and gave the offense every chance they needed to win the game, and they just did nothing. Geno was under pressure seemingly on every throw, and finally for the first time, science started to set in, and the collage of random fat dudes for Seattle started playing like random fat dudes, and combine that with a bad Geno game and a DK one as well, and what you get is 4 second-half red zone drives and 3 points in return. But even with all that impressive levels of suck, if the Seahawks decided to kick this field goal instead of going for it on 4th down, then they still would have won this game and gotten a game-winning kick at the end. And I do understand the thought process of going for it, but I felt like just relying on the offense over the defense, who had been playing better and better as the game went on, was simply not the move. But whatever, it sounds like I'm molding, but I'm really not that upset. The Seahawks just slightly lost to a team that was slightly better than them. And for the Bengals, I'm still just so confused. They could easily have 1 win right now, and their other 2 have just been categorized as ugly wins. So I'm just waiting for the Bengals to have a dominant victory, and they can get back to playing some actual Cincinnati football that we've been used to over these last couple of years. What the happened here? This was just such a rough game to watch. The weather was a pretty massive factor and definitely played in favor of the Browns, but if I ever have to watch an XFL level quarterback who can't throw anything over 8 yards in the rain and PJ Walker in the same game ever again, I'm gonna flip a table. Brock Purdy just had his worst game as a pro, and somehow along with the patch notes nerfing the 49ers, losing C-Mac and Debo, as well as a little scruffle to Trent Williams, they still easily should have won this game. I mean, a combination of another botched ref whistle stopping a fumble, just like in the Saints-Titans game from week 1, questionable calls throughout, and PJ Walker doing everything in his power to lose the game. Well, you know what? They found a way, missing their second field goal of the day to drop their first game of the season. Clearly a huge win for the Browns to keep up in the AFC North, because I guess those teams are starting to win games now, and for the 49ers, this game probably won't matter, especially with the Eagles losing this week, and they should be fine as long as it doesn't rain in the NFC Championship game. Or you know, if Hassan Reddick isn't there again. These are the 2 worst teams in the league. These are the 2 worst football teams that are out there. I can't believe we got Tony Romo to call this game, because this was just a slugfest without the fest. It was just 2 slugs going at it for 60 minutes straight. The Raiders did all on offense and defense all game long, while the Patriots impressively found a way to just get injured on every single play, and the 2 teams sprinkled in some of the worst plays I've ever seen, until finally the Patriots outdid themselves, with Devontae Parker doing New England fans a huge favor, increasing their draft position. What a miserable game. Do not watch the highlights, I beg you. It's not worth your time, just don't do it. And good work, Devontae. You're a hero. But I don't believe that anyone other than a Patriot or Raider fan actually watched this game.
I mean, the sheer girth is ridiculous.
We now know which of these teams that came into this game with 1 loss is real and which one is not. And shockingly, the one quarterbacked by Baker Mayfield is the one who was exposed, because not only did he do nothing out there, but the whole Bucs team played some stinky ball, struggling to do anything, and even in the rare moments when things actually opened up, Baker was serving up some well-done steaks, missing at least 2 potentially game-changing throws. And somehow, to contrast that, even with the Lions' death tolls just continuing to rise, the defense shut out Tampa from getting in the end zone. It was just domination, and through some miracle, despite the result of this game, both of these teams are in the lead of their respective divisions. The Lions pretty much got the NFC North for free, but as we all speculated, Tampa might just be one of the worst division winners we'll ever see. Other than that, I mean, what a time to be a Lions fan. I would trade like 2 first-round picks in my right kidney for Dan Campbell to come coach the Raiders, but other than that, I was joking about that whole Jared Goff for MVP thing last week, but if he keeps improving game by game and the Lions keep winning, by the end of the season, we might not have a choice but to give Jared Goff the MVP.
That's too easy.
The Cardinals just battle you. They fight you hard. This team is pretty similar to what I thought the Falcons were going to be before the season, just a little bit worse. And the problem with Arizona is, besides everything, talent. The team plays tough football, but they're criminally unskilled. And once Sean McVay actually made some adjustments and decided, hey, Maybe let's not give Kyren Williams 2 carries for 4 yards in the first half. It was pretty much over, with his 154 second half yards opening up everything for Stafford in the offense, and that was basically it. Literally, there is nothing else to say here. The better team won and looked like the better team, and to be honest, I've never seen more Rams fans in one area, ever. Good thing that Cardinals fans don't exist, because I feel like they had more people at this game than their damn Super Bowl parade. It's just such a shame to watch the Jets and think about what they could be. I hate to bring it up, but they pretty much have an elite everything. Even when they're injured, they did a phenomenal job masking their weaknesses. If only they had a quarterback. The Jets' defense just got in Jalen Hurts' head more and more as the game dragged on, and eventually their corruption worked, with Jalen Hurts having a bottom 5 game of his career, and combine that with 4 turnovers and a ton of injuries mentioned in the patch notes, and what you get is the second undefeated team falling in the same week. But once again, just like the 49ers game, the Eagles don't really have to be beating themselves up over this loss. It felt relatively similar to their Washington loss last year, not in terms of how the game played out, more of the overall vibe of the loss, to kind of remind the Eagles that they are immortal and anything's possible in the NFL. The Jets just grinded out a great win, so don't sweat it at all, Philly. You get one of these. Just don't let it happen again. And you know, I realized I said this exact same thing about the Cowboys, and then, you know, this happened, so I'm really warning you, get your shit together. The Patrick Ewing theory. A star athlete that receives a large amount of media attention and fan interest, but crucially never leads his team to any meaningful success, leaves their team. They then exceed expectations without the player. Is that not exactly what we just watched the Giants do without Daniel Jones? The Giants defense was also playing incredible, and Tyrod Taylor is fine. We all know that, but it felt like even though him and Daniel Jones aren't entirely different quarterbacks, he sort of brought a different dimension to this Giants offense that was missing previously. But, you know, not too much. And when Tyrod that sequence up at the end of the first half, I've never feared for a man's life more. I wouldn't put it past Brian Dable to just walk back onto the field wielding Tyrod's decapitated cranium. But eventually the Giants just weren't able to hold off Josh Allen for long enough, scoring 2 massive touchdowns to retake the lead, and it was going to be hard for them to lose this game, unless they decide to throw the ball here.
Got it. Boot it, throw it, and it's incomplete.
Okay, whatever. I don't hate the call, and if it was a little bit of a better throw and maybe a little bit of a better catch, then the game would have been over. So as long as one of the best kickers in the league is able to knock...
Leaking right again, and he missed it right again.
God damn it, Buffalo. You can't do this. Tyrod Taylor is about to pull off the impossible, and after a penalty, the Giants used up their last lifeline, and I honestly believe this penalty would have been called if this game weren't in front of a primarily Buffalo home crowd, because if they called this penalty, which by the books should have been called, one of the refs' cars would have been just destroyed before they could even get close to it. A meaningless but fun game for the Giants, who aren't even a real NFL team, but a gargantuan win for the Bills. If they had lost this game, the Jets would actually have been edging them out in the standings, and if they're still trying to compete with the Dolphins, they're going to need to squeak out every tough win like this against great teams like the New York Giants.
It is what it is.
This game had every element available to be competitive and fun, but it just didn't execute on any of that. This game was so sloppy and there were so many penalties. Overall, it really just felt like a week 1 game. Put simply, this was a mid-off, and Justin Herbert is still just clearly not healthy. That finger is really bothering him, but when it mattered most, the Cowboys defense clutched up and ended up getting an interception to wrap up probably the worst close game of the entire season. And if Dallas is going to continue to win games like this, that defense is going to need to do a lot more. Another Monday, another thoroughly disappointing game, but before we go, it's time for the TubFrog Discord Awards, and you can go join the Discord, the link is in the description if you want to help vote. So, the people voted on the best play, being Amari Cooper mossing Charvarius Ward. The best game was the Eagles versus Jets, which, wasn't amazing, but we didn't have much to pick from. The best player performance was Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun God. The worst team performance was the New England Patriots. They just own this category, I guess. The worst player performance was Jalen Hurts, and I asked what your favorite livestock animal was, and you guys said the silverback gorilla, so no surprises across the board. But anyways, here are my Patreons on the screen here, and you can join the Patreon in the link in the description. It's only $1 a month, so if you want to support the channel, you can do that. But if you like this video, then watch this video that I just did on the San Diego Chargers and their miserable time as a franchise. It's pretty good, trust me. But anyways, until next time.